Hello everyone watching at home, welcome to the Adelaide Eternal Legacy Cup coverage, round 5, final round. I'm Sarven McLinton, this is Beckett Wolfe.
G'day guys, final round before cut to top 8 guys. So we've got Michael Hearn on the left and James Arthur on the right. Should we check out the deck list?
Yeah, so Michael Hearn's list is on the screen already. We're going to have a little discussion about that. This is a fundamentally lands deck. You know, there's nothing particularly dramatically different about it from any others, except often you get a choice between the win con you have. And Michael Hearn has decided to sleeve up Molten Vortex in his main deck.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's a nice one. It's a nice way to just kind of kill your opponent without actually needing to, say, you know, dirtle through the burn your face with Burn Willows and Punishing Fire.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty secondary win con these days.
And you don't have to make your Dark Depths token.
Yeah. I've also seen people run Experimental Frenzy in this sort of list with with red. Michael's not running it today, but I think that could be a cool one. Looking at James's list, he's on Esper Control by Esper Midrange, I guess. He's got 3 Geisters ain't trash, so that's his, I guess, main win con. But he's also got a bit of card advantage through Lily Last Hope and Jace the Mind Sculptor.
It's good cards, just right, just mono good cards.
Yeah, that's right.
Mush them together, and it's like, hey, I'm playing Esper.
That's right. Plenty of hand hate, plenty of target spot removal, blockers and threats and planeswalkers. It's just Esper stuff.
Yeah, and I guess the downside is you don't get Pyroblast, but instead in your board you get awesome cards like Zealous Persecution and Painful Truths, Tight Hollow Sculler, all Containment Priest, just really cool white cards that wouldn't otherwise be played in Grixis control. So let's have a look at what's happening at the match. So we have Marsh Flats being played, and we're going straight into Michael Hearn's turn. So having Grove of the Burn Willows as your opening land is one of those... So this is a Force of Will on Exploration, and this is pitching Snapcaster Mage. So in effect, it's kind of like 3 cards, right? You kind of lose 3 cards to counter it, assuming that on average Snapcaster Mage flashes back a Ponder.
It's tempting to let it resolve, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's so important to get
I think
rid of
so. Because it feels like, oh, well, I can get card advantage. He'll just burn his hand out. But once he starts loaming and stuff, and he's got Exploration, you just get absolutely inundated with, a card advantage and also land drops that are going to interact with you. Him to Turak, I like that. Also, the other thing is
really kind of risky against lands if the Exploration resolved, which is why he's made this play. Because if the Exploration resolves and you him them and you discard their loam and then they flip to lands and then they loam back and then they start to play them off the Exploration, it's really, really hard. But when you've countered their Exploration, you're kind of allowed to do this.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing is Force of Will isn't that great in this matchup, so there's not that... I mean, forcing a crop rotation is pretty good. It's not like there's nothing to force, but it's not great, so...
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when you are on a control deck, which this fundamentally is for James on the right, you have a lot of issues with closing the game out fast. And Delver decks, if you look at Delver, it's really unfavoured against lands, but what it tries to do is finish the game really quickly. If it finishes a game before your opponent kind of sets up, you daze an Exploration, then you Spell Pierce, 1 life from the loam at the right time, this is the key to winning the game. And James is doing exactly that, resolving a Gurmag Angler, and got fingers crossed there's no Maze of Ith, basically. I just turn this sideways 4 times.
Yeah, that's right.
There's Maze of Ith.
Yeah, say,
that's
there's not much to interact with Gurmag, but that's one of them.
Yeah, this is obviously a gamble for life from the loam. Even if you don't have your Exploration, getting your life from the loam engine online is really, really important against a control deck.
Gamble's such a sweet card. It's so good, it doesn't see much play outside of decks like this. Some combo decks will run it, but it's so perfect, right? Because often you're gambling for Punishing Fire or life, and it just works out so well that even if it's the last card in your hand, you want it to be discarded. And if it doesn't get discarded, hey, at least you got your life from loam in your hand.
Yeah, that's it. So it looks like he's deciding, it was a green card, so it's almost certainly going to be that. The Maze of Ith, what is your plan when you have played your Gurmag Angler, you've gone all into this plan, I need to turn this guy sideways, and then they play the Maze of Ith,
Well, James has got Geist of Saint Traft in his hand.
In his hand.
In his
Oof.
hand.
All right, ready for next turn then.
So
Nice.
that's, I mean, the maze is still pretty good because you can maze the angel.
The angel token.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But at least you get him for 2, and at least, especially in this scenario, at least
Riftstone Portal.
Gurmag Angler's there. So
Riftstone Portal going straight to the graveyard is
Really good.
exactly where
Yeah.
Hearn wants the portal.
that
right?
makes the Maze of Ith be able to tap for green or white, right?
Yeah, it's like the best brush land you've ever seen.
So
the best savannah.
So for those who don't know, you get to, if Riftstone Portal's in the bin, all your lands can tap for either green or white. So now he's able to tap Maze of Ith for mana, and he plays out Exploration into Grove. He's happy to take 5 life because he knows, I think the maze will, he thought at least before this, that the maze would be able to support his life total, so he could take it. I think if he knew Geist of Saint Trath was in the hand, he wouldn't have bothered with the Exploration that turn, but he wants to set up for a really good life from loam turn.
So I do appreciate the OG foil, not Gurmag Angler, Geist of Saint Traft. They look so good. The candles look amazing in foil. Much better than the WMC promo.
I used
or
to
the
have
other ones.
one. Now I sold it. I regrets.
So beautiful.
Why didn't Hearn play Life of Mine?
Maybe he didn't actually find Life Alone. Maybe he searched for Exploration. That was the green card we saw. Interesting.
Surely not. Did he not have the lands at the time? He would have. Surely.
Maybe he's... Oh, interesting.
Or
Well,
did
let's
he
find
search
out.
for a
Let's
Riftstone
find out what
Portal or
happens.
something?
No.
Because he's got
That's
Exploration out. He wasted that
Yeah.
turn, but he would have been able to...
Oh, okay. But I think he found Exploration then. If he gambled for Exploration. Interesting. Well, we'll find out soon enough. We can get Michael to comment.
Yeah.
Now, 6 damage is huge. Is this the reason why James is playing Geist over True Name Nemesis? Because True Name solves the problem with Maze of Ith, and I'm trying to think of it solves the problem of blockers.
Yeah, they're pretty similar cards.
Yeah.
I know James was running True Name before, and he's actually had 3 Geists, so he's gone up in Geists.
Yeah.
So he's made an active decision after testing.
Yep, he clearly loves it more than True Name. So that was a very swift game 1 from James, and as you can see, you need to be able to pressure your opponent who's on lands really, really quickly, because if you don't, once they assemble their engine, their control engine is better than any control engine you can muster in Legacy, right?
That's
When
right.
you go, Grixis Control, I've got Colligan's Command, back the Snapcaster Mage, and, all of those kind of things. But then the lands deck's just like, yeah, whatever, I'm playing Green Ancestral Recall every turn, just, drawing 3 cards.
Yeah, well, of note, even if he did play Green Ancestral Recall, the clock would have got him.
Yeah,
so he
for
needed
sure.
something like Tabernacle, I guess. But even that, you can just pay. I think there wasn't really much for Michael. He needed 2 Maze of Iths.
Yeah, and he didn't know Geist was coming down, right, at the time, but either way, going to sideboards, let's have a look at what Michael will bring in. So Michael's got Chalice of the Void for 1, which is pretty nice against blue decks in general, but most of all, Choke. 2 Chokes is amazing. 2 Chokes, when they resolve against a control deck like Grixis Control, it's basically never leaving the battlefield and it's always going to wreck you. However, against a deck with white, a control deck with white, there are enchantment removal spells like Disenchant, so he could actually get got.
He could get got. There's also 3 Tireless Tracker, 1 Ramanap. The lands sort of brings in creatures on the assumption that decks will take out their kill spells. In this case, James's kill spells are 4 Swords to Plowshares, which he might keep in if he's scared of the Maritlage. Although, it gets a bit weird, doesn't it? Because the lands deck can often recur that Maritlage once it's so far ahead, as you talked about at the start. So you don't have infinite swords. So do you think
The clock could become so slow.
So is Michael going to bring in his creature package?
Maybe. Now, it really depends. If your opponent is taking out spot removal, Tireless Tracker is amazing. But when your opponent is on Swords of Plowshares, they're incentivized not to take their Swords of Plowshares out. So therefore, you shouldn't bring in Tireless Tracker, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sphere of Resistance is a really nice candidate against Crows and Grips, 1 tracker to Choke. Here's what's coming out. A Wasteland, double Punishing Fire, Caracas, and a Bajuka Bog.
Yeah, I like that.
As you can see, and we've got Thoughtseize, double Him, and what was that? Spell Piercers?
Double Spell Pierce.
And in we get Disenchant, triple Surgical, and I missed the card on the far right.
Was that a different art?
Engine Explosives or something?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I didn't. It was a little bit too fast.
It looked white.
But the good thing is that both of these...
Containment Priest? Does it stop Maritlage?
I don't think so. It's a token.
Okay.
It's a token, and yeah. Anyway, there's a number of many reasons why Priest doesn't work. I'm afraid.
I just saw why.
Both players have played on the feature match table multiple times before, so for the most part they've been, as you could see, they showed their sideboarding in and out, which not enough people do. When you play on feature match a lot, you get really used to going and sharing, because you're kind of like really passionate about the audience understanding your thought process, and this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it. So showing your sideboarding in and out is really, really useful for the audience, so we appreciate that a lot. On the right, we have multiple lands. We have Jace the Mind Sculptor. I didn't see the other cards, but we'll find out soon enough when they show their hands, hopefully. I didn't see Michael's hand, but it looks like they're both really considering keeping 7. That's gone. Michael's hand, Rishon and Port, Mox Diamond, Verdant Catacombs, Exploration, Gamble, and was that Krakus or something? I missed.
It's hard to know what's a good keep.
Krakus was out, wasn't
it? In a lands deck, because there's a lot of lands in the deck naturally. It's not a traditional curve. You're not going to see 3 mana, Thoughtseize, 2-drop, 3-drop. You're just not going to see that. So I wouldn't really know what to keep. I don't play lands. I played against lands a lot, but I've never played with it. I wouldn't really know what a good keep looks like. Probably something with Exploration. I think it's a keep though, right? Mm-hmm. It's got Gamble.
Yeah, it's got Gamble. So you've basically got Lifeful and Loam in your hand.
Exactly. If you've got Gamble, I think it's probably a keep.
Yep. So 3 lands: Ponder, Baleful Strix, and Jason Mind Sculptor. It's not a good hand against lands, but it's a hand that could become good against lands.
Right. Jace is quite good against lands, but hard to get up there.
It's more so the Ponder. So you actually have an 8-card hand and a 9-card hand, because you're going to draw a card next turn, because the Ponder lets you see 3, technically a 4th one as well, to try and find that Surgical Extraction. So this was a Mox Diamond discarding Verdant Catacombs into Exploration, second Mox Diamond discarding Rishon and Port into... Wow. Yeah. Into Gamble. This is basically playing the whole hand.
Perfect hand.
And the Gamble is going to discard the card that you find. So you're basically always going to find Loam. This was, he's like, this is the card I'm going to find. Would you like to roll a dice?
I wonder what
decide
it is.
Here it is. I'll choose that. Awesome.
Very nice. Very nice.
Good play, guys. I love it. I love that. Yep. So Life of the Loam is in the bin. Basically, Michael's gone, I'm on the play, and I have set literally everything I could ever want up. I've got the dream hand,
I mean, he's even playing around Wastelands, because he could have just played the Richmond Port, but that makes the Life from Loam worse. So he's played Mox Diamonds there instead of playing lands.
Yeah, and it maximises Loam, because you're always going to hit 3 now, right? You got 2 in the bin, and you're going to flip 1 by odds. So James is going to be really under pressure here to find something with this Ponder. I expect it's going to be a crack straight away, and there isn't a Wasteland in the bin. It's just a Rishon and Port, so he can find a non-basic land
but
here.
I honestly feel like Rishon and Port here is just as good as a Wasteland.
Oh yeah, because
Michael doesn't have anything in hand to cast. He's just going to be casting the Life from Loam, so he can then just Port.
Yeah. So it's going to work basically better than Wasteland in some ways. So which is why I like just snapping off a Underground Sea or something, just to triple land. Oof. I know you love Jace, but you don't love Jace enough to draw through 3 land over the next course of a couple of turns.
It's really awkward, isn't it? Cause
he's looking for surgical, 100%.
I agree. On one hand, you want to hit your land drops and play around Waste and Rishon and Port, but I think you do need to find an answer. You're so far behind.
Is it surgical extraction?
Oh no!
So good.
No,
that was a disciplined shuffle off the Ponder. Look at that. I love as well how thumbs up from Michael. I love how James even didn't even take the card, shuffle it into his hand, and go he's just like, look, I'm in on this. This is my plan here.
Get his head. Get in his head.
Yeah, that was great. Now, most likely it's going to be 4 Life from the Loams here, but what you do is you get to see the sideboarding. You get to see, okay, how many Crows and Grips do you have? How many chokes do you have?
What's that other wing con?
Yeah, exactly. There they go. So the engine's gone. Now Michael is drawing off the top of the deck every turn, and drawing off the top of the deck is pretty marginal.
Even in a deck like Lands.
I've got a question for you, Beckett.
Shoot.
Who shuffles and who cuts with Surgical Extraction?
My understanding is you should both shuffle, and then the opponent, person who plays the surgical should draw.
Should know what?
Should cut. Sorry.
Should cut.
Yeah.
Really? Is that right? Is that the case?
Yeah.
Or because who's the one doing the searching?
No. So James searches.
Thespian stage.
James searches, does a quick little shove.
Yeah.
Michael gives it a healthy shove, and then James should cut. That's how I would play it.
Is
I don't
that
know if
right?
that's the rules.
Just because it's your opponent's deck, or is it the case that your opponent has to cut it because you're the one that did the search? Like you're searching a deck and shuffling it. Judges out there,
I get what
judges,
you're
please post.
James drew another surgical off the top there, by the way.
Whoa. Yeah. For reference, for everyone who's watching this match, this is for the winning in. Yeah.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Yeah. This is a winning in. This is a heavy match.
He still just died. I mean, Michael ripped the Thespian stage. He could just die to the Merit Lage.
Just
right?
rips. It's just mono rips, right?
And to be honest, the Tabernacle will slow James down. I like playing Battle Strix out.
No!
Oh man!
This is you could not write this better. This is so good. He's like, oh, so you can top deck things, well I can top deck things too.
Who needs Green Zestri Recall?
Yeah, who needs the engine of your deck?
Who cut it in the end? Was it Michael or was it James?
Wow, this is awesome. I love it. So
Pays one for Tabernacle. Plays a land hesitantly.
Battle Strix,
okay.
Strix for days, right?
But Michael can just kind of like hold off a bit.
Yeah, because
would you hold off? Nah.
I think you do because
Do
what
you?
if they play Jason Mind Sculptor?
Uh,
but I think
you
he
gotta
just
get
has
it
to
done
go for
sometime.
it, right?
Because
He just has to
eventually
go, like, I'm gonna
James,
go for it.
yeah, James would just eventually, if he plays Jace, then he gets to brainstorm and find swords or something like that. Pay for Tabernacle.
We'll assume that he paid for Tabernacle.
No, it's destroy, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's
You
destroy.
don't
That's
need to,
right.
of
Yeah,
course.
so it's like you don't sacrifice it.
Yeah,
You destroy the indestructible creature.
right.
Sweet.
Can't be done. So you could pay for one.
Yeah, you could elect to.
You could elect to.
Yeah, just like good guy Mox Diamond paying for Tabernacle. So now this is tricky. It's not as clear cut as Jace because you have to pay one for the Baleful Strix.
Yeah, but he's got Jace
you let
in
it
hand.
die.
Yeah, he's like.
Okay, so he's got his fourth land.
I think it's correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, this is where Michael Hearn's heart sinks, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like, well, if you didn't play it,
And
you've
there's
got
swords
something.
in hand as well.
Yeah, so he's got all
Bang.
the things. There he is. John Avon's signature? Or no, Jason Chan, right? Jason Chan did Jason Mind Sculptor.
Ooh!
Oh, there it goes. So so this is where Michael was like, yeah, I'm glad I brought that Tireless Tracker in. That's totally going to win the game. I believe it's now down to literal one Tireless Tracker and one Molten Vortex.
And
Those are
Molten
the only
Vortex
ways you can
seems
win.
pretty bad when there's no life and loams, right?
Oh no.
Honest-
2 damage a turn. So it's kind of like basically Sulfuric Vortex for your opponent. It kills a Jason Mind Sculptor. Maybe he's lost a lot of life from surgical extractions. So let's just say.
I've got the deck. I've got the list in front of me, and it's literally that.
So does
Right.
he? So does Michael keep the Windswept Heath in hand? So next turn he top decks the tracker.
Oh yeah.
Plays the Heath.
Oh yeah.
Makes 2 tokens.
Oh, yeah.
But then the tracker gets bounced. Tracker gets Swords of Plowshares. So what he can do is use the tokens
I
to
think
draw
it's
more
done,
cards
so
to fuel a Molten Vortex for like 4
I
damage,
think it's
and
just
then
done.
proceeds to do 2 damage a turn. So
Why don't I ever draw my surgicals when I'm playing against Lane?
it is a pretty bad matchup for us. We do need.
This was a sweet
surgicals.
game, though. I mean, like Michael had the most beautiful start I've ever seen in my life,
Yeah,
and then
and
James
had a
hit the-
mulligan to 6 with a ponder. Hope to find surgical on the 4th possible look at a card.
and then Michael rips back-to-back combo piece.
So good. I mean, if you want to win an in game, there's no better winning than this kind of a game. So swingy. So I guess, Michael does not concede here because your opponent could make some kind of play error which causes him a game loss. Right?
Yeah,
I guess.
mean,
But everyone's like the funniest part is
I guess
if
you
it
could-
happened
you can hit
in
Punishing Fire the Jace,
Yeah, I guess so.
and Punishing Fire can get you back in the game. He started out 2, but I think there's still 1 in there.
Yeah, well, surgical extraction. What are you even
It's not
targeting?
it's not even that good anymore, right?
Gamble
guess the
just so
only-
you can't find Punishing Fire?
Yeah, I guess the only other card worth surgicaling is Punishing Fire, right?
Yeah, like actual literal punishing fire.
Yeah.
Well, denying the gamble means you deny the search for a punishing
I
fire.
think maybe like now James also is going. He wants to play a proactive.
Are you just making his deck better though by taking out the gamble?
No, because I think, as I said, punishing fire is quite a good draw,
yeah,
and gamble will search for punishing fire. So I think it's actually quite a good one. And you're playing proactive snap, and now James is like, okay, what actual win cons does he have left?
Yeah, and
like,
now he's just going to fate seal the win cons.
Like
to the bottom.
search of the library there is actually really relevant.
Yeah, he
could have got that on the other two searches, but now he's in a different mindset. He's like,
oh, it's a Grove of the Burn Willows.
He's like, hang on, like what is left?
Now, do you play a fetch land here? Because then, if you get fate sealed, which you're inevitably going to fate seal, when your opponent fate seals once, it means they're probably going to start fate sealing. You know, like when they're going up, it means they're in a comfortable position. They rarely fate seal for, another Grove of the Burn Willows.
Well,
you're welcome to keep it.
Hey, if punishing fire gets ripped, then it makes punishing fire quite good.
It does.
Because you want the mana to be able to do it, and you want at least 2 groves.
Note that Snap Custom Age wasn't paid for, but it's largely moot here. Pretty sure that. Oh no, it was paid for. It was paid for the one island paid for it, and then Gurmag was a 1 swamp to cast it.
Oh, you mean for Tabernacle?
Yeah, Tabernacle.
Right,
yep. So now, if someone misses something, I believe you can put it on the stack or something then, and then the person... Something like that. Something judge.
Yeah, we were talking about this. They changed the rules where, like, now, like with a Slaughter Pact or a Pact Negation trigger, you don't just, like, lose the game if you forget. You just rewind. And then go back.
Elect to pay for it.
There was a lot of more rewinding. I mean, the rules are changing all the time. We had a big discussion afterwards when we did our little debrief about there was quite a lot of rewinding from the judge on in Highlander especially.
Yeah, someone does something wrong and then you go, okay, let's rewind to a different position. But when that happens, sometimes you give information to your opponent and then they don't make that play. But here what happened is the Tabernacle trigger got placed on the stack at another point in time. It's kind of anachronistic. And then the Snap Custom Age got paid for. And now we're remembering the trigger, so yep, all good. So we're still live to Punishing Fire? Are we even live to Punishing Fire?
I think it's not now that Jace started fate sealing. I don't think Punishing Fire can race Jace up going up and
then attacking for 7.
Yeah, like he's got to be able to kill Snap by draw Maze of Ith for Gurmag.
Oh yeah, the advantage bar is kind of what would it be like?
And Jace is also going to be fate sealing away Punishing Fire, so like it's got to be I mean basically you'd bottom anything. You'd only be bottom Punishing Fires, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Now, if you were a bookie, what odds would you put on Michael winning? I'd probably give, say, 0.5%.
Yeah, I wouldn't give much.
Maybe 0.1%.
I think it's.
We're going like 99.
I don't think it's possible actually.
Down to.
I think it's 100%. Honestly, like I don't.
Oh yeah, if this was poker, it's like. But there is variance. There is some amount of variance.
But what? Like I no.
James Arthur makes a mistake.
I guess.
But at the end of the day, people on the feature
level.
match at this level as well are really
These
good
guys
friends
are like
as well.
4-0 or something. Right?
Oh yeah, and they're also good friends. So like when something happens here, if someone made a mistake, most likely you can expect the other person to be like, yeah, all good.
Yeah.
Like Tabernacle, yeah, whatever.
And there's a judge right there. You can see his shoes. Okay, that's game.
And that's game. Thanks for watching that one. That brings James Arthur into the top 8.
Well done.
And we'll be cutting straight over to the top 8 now. So stick with us. If the video is up and ready, you can go over and watch the quarterfinals of the Adelaide Eternal Legacy Cup for 2019.
That was a sweet game. See you then.